ever feel like some days you're like totally on your game and other days not so much?
Yeah, totally.
Like something's running in the background that you don't even realize. Well, today we're diving into that.
Ooh, I like it. Diving in.
We're talking temperament. It's like your spiritual DNA,
Yeah.
your own personal instruction manual, and we'll explore how understanding it can totally revolutionize your walk with Christ.
And that's what's so cool about Tim LaHaye's book, Spirit-Controlled Temperament.
Yep.
Right? He takes these ancient personality types.
Yeah.
Sanguine, choleric, melancholy, and phlegmatic, right? And it's not just like, oh, you're this type, that's it.
Yeah.
He shows you how these temperaments can blend. And that's what makes each of us so unique.
Yeah, because you're not just one thing, are you?
Exactly.
Like a recipe.
Yes. And, what I find fascinating is that LaHaye hones in on anger and fear, right?
Yeah.
As these major roadblocks that we encounter as Christians.
Oh, 100%.
They can really trip us up.
Fear and anger, two big ones. And he doesn't just stop at the theory. He brings it into everyday life.
Exactly. He talks about your career, your driving habits, even your taste in music.
Your music. Stop, I know.
It's incredible how he connects these dots,
It's
right?
so interesting. So it's like you get this new lens to view yourself, to view others.
Absolutely.
But it all starts with identifying, right?
Yeah.
So let's unpack these temperaments. First up,
Okay.
the sanguine. Picture this. It's a
Mhm.
friend who could make friends with, like a brick wall.
Yes. Yes.
They're the life of the party, always have a story. But maybe, just maybe, forget to write down that appointment.
Yes. The classic sanguine. LaHaye talks about how they're warm, they're talkative, they thrive in crowds, right?
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side,
Uh-oh.
they might struggle with follow-through. They're easily distracted. They might be a little bit up and down emotionally.
You just described like half of my friends.
Right. So relatable.
But you know what I find so fascinating?
That's it.
LaHaye compares this temperament to the Apostle Peter. Oh, wow.
Right.
Yeah.
Impulsive, speaks first, thinks later.
Yep.
But then after Pentecost,
Transformation.
bam, total transformation. And that's what we see, right?
Yes.
This incredible power of the Holy Spirit that can actually empower each temperament to conquer those weaknesses.
Exactly, yeah. It's not about erasing who you are.
Right.
It's about the Holy Spirit working through your natural inclinations to help you become the best version of yourself.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so next up on the runway, we've got the choleric, think, driven, action-oriented. They get things done.
Yes.
But maybe, just maybe, might step on some toes along the way.
Oh, yeah. They're definitely a force to be reckoned with.
Yes.
LaHaye describes them as natural-born leaders. They're decisive, they're organized, but yeah, they can also be quick to anger, a
Yes.
little impatient, and maybe even a tad bossy.
You know who's a choleric? I'm just going to say it. A famous general from World War II.
Okay.
A brilliant strategist. I'm not arguing with that.
Right. But also known for that temper. You did not want to be on his bad side.
Right. And that's a perfect example of how certain temperament traits can be incredibly powerful.
Yes.
But without the Holy Spirit's guidance, they can really lead us astray.
Lead us down some bumpy roads.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. All right. Shifting gears to the melancholy. Deep thinkers, creative souls, but prone to, those deep introspective moods.
Yes, these are your artists, your writers, your musicians. They feel things so deeply. LaHaye describes them as gifted, empathetic. They have a keen eye for detail, but they might get bogged down by negativity, struggle with self-doubt. It's a double-edged sword.
And it makes you think, right? Like, how many amazing pieces of art, how many country music songs
Yes.
were written by melancholies because they feel it all so deeply. Even if we're not like belting out power ballads, I think we can all relate to their highs and lows.
Absolutely. And that's what's so freeing about understanding temperament. It's not an excuse for bad behavior at all, right?
Right.
It's a framework for recognizing these patterns in your life.
Yes.
And then seeking growth in those areas where you need it.
So important. So last but not least, the phlegmatic. Think. Calm, cool, and collected. You know that friend who never seems fazed? The voice of reason in any storm?
Yes, you're steady Eddie.
Steady Eddie.
Your rock. LaHaye describes them as easygoing, patient, the peacemakers. But the flip side is they might be a little bit too laid back, resistant to change, need a little bit of a nudge sometimes to get going.
Like calm and collected on the outside, but maybe a little stubborn on the inside.
A little bit.
I like how LaHaye uses the image of a perfectly organized office, right? Everything in its place, meticulously arranged. And when we think about biblical figures, and we will dive into some examples later on, but think about those known for their patience, their unwavering faith,
Hmm.
those quiet strengths.
And I love that LaHaye does that, right? He takes these temperaments and he connects them to different aspects of life. It really underscores that this is not just some, like, theoretical framework. This is who we are. This is woven into our being.
This is deep stuff.
Right.
But how do we move from just putting a label on ourselves
Right.
to actually harnessing the power of our temperament, especially as Christians? So we've like laid out the blueprint, right? We know what temperament is.
Yeah.
Now the big question, how do we put it into practice?
Yeah.
Especially in our walk with Christ, right?
That's the exciting part. LaHaye isn't just about identifying your temperament. He wants you to see how it can trip you up or become this awesome source of strength in your Christian life.
Well, okay, so it's like this powerful engine, but we've got to learn how to drive it without crashing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where the Holy Spirit comes in. See, LaHaye believes that real transformation,
Yeah.
it happens when we partner with the Holy Spirit.
Mm.
Not about erasing your temperament,
Right.
but letting God work in it, through it.
So it's less of a temperament makeover and more of a divine upgrade.
I like that. Becoming the most authentic, God-glorifying you there is.
Okay, less temperament makeover, more divine upgrade. I love it. But, gotta be real, LaHaye doesn't sugarcoat things. He gets into the potential pitfalls, you know?
Oh, he keeps it.
He keeps it real. So starting with our sanguine friends, all that energy, that love for people, well, it can flip into emotional instability,
Right.
lack of self-control.
He talks about how this plays out in relationships, right?
Yeah.
Like a sanguine might be super gung-ho about a new project or idea.
Yeah.
But then their interest fizzles out, leaves others hanging.
Oh, ouch! Yeah, that overpromising and underdelivering stings.
Right, and they might struggle with prioritizing. They're pulled in a million directions.
So many exciting things.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm seeing some head nods out there. We've all been there, even if we're not sanguine. Okay, next up, choleric. Amazing drive,
The best.
but it can become some serious anger issues. LaHaye even talks about, like, the health consequences.
Yeah, he doesn't mess around. He brings in medical studies linking anger to ulcers, high blood pressure, even heart problems. It's a big deal. Your outbursts, they don't just affect your relationships, they affect you.
It's like a siren's going off. Pay attention. Okay, gotta take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
Now, the melancholy. Deep thinkers, sensitive souls, right?
Yes.
But that can sometimes mean a bit of self-centeredness.
Yeah.
Those mood swings and that tendency to get stuck in negativity.
LaHaye gives this powerful example of, like, a depressed Bible teacher. This person knew the scriptures inside and out, but just couldn't shake that sadness.
Wow. So even with all that knowledge.
Right, and LaHaye suggests the root was this focus on their own struggles, their own needs, and just, like, a lack of gratitude for God's blessings.
That's a good reminder for everyone, though, isn't it? It's so easy to get trapped in your own head.
Okay, last but not least, the phlegmatic. Calm,
Yeah.
steady.
Love 'em.
But that can slip into selfishness, right? Stubbornness, a lack of motivation sometimes.
It's like they're so content with how things are
Yeah.
that they might miss chances to grow to serve others.
LaHaye connects this to everyday stuff. Putting off important tasks, dragging their feet on decisions, not helping out when they could.
Man, we're seeing how each temperament has its own hurdles.
It's true.
And this is the hope-filled part.
Yes.
These weaknesses, they don't have to define us, especially as Christians.
And that's why what LaHaye says about the Holy Spirit is so important.
Yeah.
It's not about erasing your temperament, becoming someone you're not. It's about letting the Holy Spirit work through what's already there, you know, refining you, helping you become more like Christ.
So good. But how do we actually do that? How do we tap into this transforming power?
Well, LaHaye lays out this 5-step process for being filled with the Holy Spirit, and he starts with examining yourself for sin.
So taking a good, hard look in the mirror, not to beat ourselves up,
No.
but to be honest about where we need to grow.
Right. It's about being real with yourself, with God. Recognizing where your actions, your attitude, it's not lining up with his will. And being willing to confess that.
Honesty is the best policy, especially with God. What's next on this journey?
Step 2 is surrender, like surrendering yourself completely to God. LaHaye, he tells this crazy story about a surgeon.
Okay.
Super talented, right? The surgeon's trying to decide what to specialize in. He's good at, like, everything.
Yeah.
Can't choose. So he prays for guidance. and ends up joining the Marines.
Wait, what? Okay, not what I was expecting.
Right. Talk about a curveball. But that's surrender, being totally open to God's leading, even when it doesn't make sense.
Wow, okay. Trusting that God knows the way even when it's not the way we thought it would be. Surrender, even when it takes you in a totally different direction. But it's not like you do it once and you're done.
Right. It's a journey.
It's a process.
Yeah.
So what else does LaHaye say about this whole transformation thing?
Well, he's big on this idea that it's not a one-time thing. It's like you're always yielding to the Holy Spirit, like throughout your life. He talks about being in the Word, making prayer a priority, and, surrounding yourself with other believers who can support you.
Yeah, like having that good crew around you to cheer you on. What else?
Oh, and he talks about resisting temptation, actively choosing to walk in the Spirit.
Even when it's hard.
Especially when it's hard. And that's where knowing your temperament comes in handy.
Yeah.
You can kind of anticipate where you might stumble.
Yeah, it's like having that insider knowledge.
Exactly.
Be prepared. I love how LaHaye shares all those stories in the book.
Oh, yeah, they're amazing.
People struggling with anger, fear, depression, even addiction. And they find radical change through the Holy Spirit.
It's powerful stuff. And he's really clear. It's not about mustering up your own willpower.
Yeah.
Or just trying harder.
Yeah.
It's tapping into something way bigger than yourself.
It's about relying on God. That's what's so encouraging about this whole approach, It's not about just putting a label on yourself. It's about hope and practical steps you can take to live a better life as a Christian.
A more joyful life, a
Yeah.
more peaceful life.
Yes.
And he's very clear, walking in the Spirit. It's a lifelong journey. It's about growth. It's about surrender.
Yeah.
And it's about progress, not perfection. We're all going to mess up, right?
Yeah.
But it's about getting back up, saying, okay, God, I messed up, and letting him work in you.
It's about that constant, turning back to him.
Exactly.
We're all a work in progress.
That's a great way to put it.
But how does this look practically? When we think about those temperament weaknesses, right?
Okay, yeah.
How do we see them being overcome?
Well, what's cool is LaHaye connects it back to each temperament.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
So for the sanguine, it's about that balance,
Okay.
between their natural exuberance.
They're so much fun.
Oh, the best. But with self-control. Not being ruled by their emotions, learning to follow through, being dependable.
So it's not that they lose that bubbly personality or that they stop, loving people well.
Oh, no.
It's more like they're channeling that energy in a way that brings God glory.
Exactly. And he's got this great story about, this mechanic, right? Eaten up by anger toward his mom. Just, poisoned his whole life.
Yeah.
His work, his relationships.
What?
But by surrendering to the Holy Spirit, he learned to forgive, let go of that bitterness. It radically changed him.
It's amazing how God can do that. What about cholerics?
Okay, so for them, it often looks like becoming a more patient, compassionate leader. Remember all that anger? Well, LaHaye says the Holy Spirit can help them become less controlling, more understanding, lead with humility, not dominance.
It's like instead of leading with that, iron fist,
Right.
it becomes more about serving others.
Exactly.
And he even tells this story about this teenager. This kid was known for being a hothead, always in trouble.
Oh, no.
But then he has this, genuine encounter with Christ, and he totally changes, becomes this kind, compassionate person.
It's like the ultimate example, God can work in anyone's life, no matter what.
I love that. That's so good. What about the melancholy? How do they experience this?
Okay, so for them, it's often about stepping out of the shadows.
Okay.
Stepping into, the light of God's joy and peace. Breaking free from all that negativity and self-doubt. LaHaye uses the example of Thomas.
Doubting Thomas. Come on, that is a classic melancholy. Always questioning.
Right. But even Thomas, after seeing the risen Christ, he became this bold witness.
So good. So it's not about denying your feelings,
Right.
It's about letting God bring you peace, bring you joy, even when things are tough. So good. And for our phlegmatic friends, how does it look for them?
Okay, so for the phlegmatics, treating complacency for action, stepping out of their comfort zone, taking initiative.
So using those gifts and talents that God's given them to serve others.
Yes. Remember we talked about procrastination, passivity. LaHaye's hey, shake things up, be a force for good.
He shares a great story too about a housewife who was struggling with depression, feeling stuck.
Oh, wow.
But she starts seeking the Holy Spirit and she discovers this passion for helping others, gets involved at her church, finds new purpose.
I love that. It reminds me that no matter your temperament,
Yeah.
God can use you.
This has been such a good conversation. So if we're like summing it all up, what's the one thing you hope listeners take away from LaHaye's book?
I think it's this. Your temperament, it's a gift,
Mm-hmm.
but it needs to be surrendered to God. We can only truly change and become the best version of ourselves
Yeah.
through the power of the Holy Spirit.
It's not about becoming someone different. It's about becoming more fully who God created us to be. And it's a
The
journey.
best kind of journey.
Absolutely. It's about growth. It's about surrender. It's about letting the Holy Spirit work in us every single day. Well, this has been incredible. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into spirit-controlled temperament. I hope this encourages you to see your own temperament as the gift that it is and to seek the Holy Spirit's power to become the best version of yourself. Until next time.